Hello everyone. Today we have a special guest in our office, Urdu's most widely read novelist, Rahman Abbas. Rahman bhai, welcome to our office.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rahman bhai is the author of 5 novels, 4 works of non-fiction. His 4th novel, Rohzin, has just been translated into English by Sabika Abbas Naqvi. His 5th novel, Zindi, has been published by Arshia Publications. This came out in November last year, and it has just gone into the 2nd edition.
Yeah,
right?
and next with 3rd edition.
Oh, you are already ready with the 3rd edition, right? So, Rahman bhai, let's begin with Rohzin.
Sure.
We'll go back to your other works also, like your 3 other novels and your 3 works of non-fiction.
Yeah, I mean one translation from Marathi to Urdu, one book of criticism on novel, and one book I read. I write on fellow writer, and one I compiled for Sahitya Academy.
All right, okay. Rohzin, Rahman bhai, is a novel which, as I was saying, treads a completely different territory in the sense that Rohzin is a word that you coin because a word like this did not exist in Urdu.
Right.
It is a word which describes the melancholy of children who witness their parents caught in the sexual act with others, like a case of infidelity.
Outside their marriage.
Yeah, right, outside of marriage.
Yeah.
So, tell me the genesis of this novel. Vikram, of course, is a Bombay novel.
Right.
The Bombay breathes in this, and Bombay is a city which has been close to your own lived experience.
Right.
The genesis of the novel, the character, I think it's the story of 2 children, Asrar and Hina, right?
Right.
Who, for them, the novel opens with the fact that it's the last day in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
It is last day in their lives.
And then it goes back in flash. There are several sequences of flashbacks, and then you describe that what happened to them. Their story basically.
Right.
Tell us something about Rohzin, then we can move on to Zindi.
Well, Rohzin, when it was my 4th novel, and I had experience writing about city and lives, and I wanted to shift Urdu writing from where Manto and Ismat brought to it. And their concern was to understand Indian families, North Indian mostly families, and Manto was writing about the prostitutes in Mumbai. And there was a lot of debates how much freedom they can exercise in writing in Urdu, and both of them have gone through legal cases. But I find out after reading them minutely that they have not dealt with men and women relationship very seriously, or the sexual orientation in their writings. So I wanted to get little shift and go into these areas which were not dealt in Urdu fiction. So that was one point, and then Bombay as my city, my experience of living, my love, you can say. I wanted to bring Bombay in a different light, and the different areas of Bombay and the kind of recent history of Bombay, which has not come into, with aesthetics into fiction. So that was my dream to bring it, and I tried it, and then I was, I think, lucky that people liked it here.
Right. Your previous 3 novels have also been like really, in some sense, the first itself was very controversial in the sense
Nakhlistan Ki Talash.
Nakhlistan Ki Talash mein, a search for the Oasis, right? And how sort of it drew on the Bombay in the aftermath of 1992 violence,
right?
And how it sort of impacted lives there, and how you sort of take a look at identity and all those issues related to the impact of political violence in that sense. Right. Tell us about that and the kind of furor it created in the
our generation in Bombay. I mean, we have gone through that experience of communal hatred, violence, where we witnessed how administration is taking position, and that was something dark for Bombay. Bombay had not experienced that kind of communal hatred, and as a result of that, we have gone through a lot of suffering. But fiction certainly dealt it differently. So in my novel, this story it was also a love story, but how these young boys and girls, they were affected by the violence and riots and bomb blast in Bombay, and how the religious organizations from different parts of the states, how they try to utilize this dark phase of these youths, and how they try to radicalize them. So that aspect was also there. But some people had objected that these are the Muslim hero and heroine, how can they hug each other and kiss each other? So that one portion of protagonists having a good time with each other. Why people love to kiss, I think, perhaps if kiss is the beginning, not the end. So that sort of things was there, and and then I suffered a lot because there was FIR against the book, and some politicians along with the BJP and Shiv Sena MLAs, they raised questions in the assembly, and the Home Ministry has given orders to investigate on the issues and everything.
Right.
So that was the whole episode, and some Islamists went to the institution where I was teaching, and they asked them to remove me, because if a person who is describing a kiss, how can he will be eligible to teach girls?
Right.
So that sort of narrowness I have witnessed in Muslim community. So and I was removed, and I had resigned. And then there was this legal battle for 10 years, but after 10 years I come out of it.
Right, right. That must have been quite traumatic.
Of course, it was not dramatic only, it was painful because you suffer a lot.
Yeah.
When you are jobless in Bombay,
Right.
only jobless can understand what it is. So yes, I have gone through being jobless in Bombay for a certain period of time, and it is because it was sort of a punishment to write me whatever the way I wanted to write.
Right.
But I took this as a challenge, and I continue my writing.
Right, right.
And I am here today with Zindi.
Absolutely. So the two more novels that came out, did it come out from that experience, which included
Yeah,
one
of course.
Mamnua Mohabbat
The
Ki
second
Kahani?
novel is Mamnua Mohabbat Ki Kahani, where I have seen how Tabligh Jamaat is radicalizing societies where it has never been before.
Right.
In our part of Maharashtra, in Konkan region,
Right.
I lived that experience where there was no Tabligh Jamaat ever.
Right.
We all Hindu, Muslim, Dalit, all communities were living together. Our dresses, our festivals, everything was same, and we were celebrating our being Indian.
Right.
Now Tabligh Jamaat came and it started purification drive, and it also brought their Urdu, and they propagated that Urdu, you have to learn Urdu because you are Muslim.
Right.
So this sort of communalization and bringing languages. So we have seen all this. So this Ek Mamnua Mohabbat Ki Kahani is basically showing readers that how any religious organization, if suppose this is in Muslim community, there are others in other communities, how they try to drive people towards the narrow-mindedness. And that's the problem now India is facing, because since last 50-60 years we have seen all these organizations are allowed to work in our democratic framework, but they don't believe in democracy, they don't believe in people living together, celebrating each other's lives, mingling together. So this the threat was there, which I had understood or I had analyzed, or that may be my personal opinion, but that was the subject of that novel.
जी जी और सबसे ज़्यादा मुझे लगता है कि ट्रॉमेटिक उर्दू वालों का रिस्पांस रहा होगा कि उर्दू में एक ट्रेडिशन रही है कि बहुत ही ज़्यादा एक सैनिटाइज्ड काइंड ऑफ लिटरेचर उर्दू has produced. I mean, if you do not include the writings of Manto or Ismat Chugtai, because they took risks, and those risks were successful in some
even
sense.
Bedi, even Bedi.
Right, even Bedi, Rajendra Singh Bedi. Was it even more traumatic to get to receive the kind of response that you got from the Urdu world, like the Urdu writers?
Look, Urdu world is also divided between North and the other part of India. So Delhi, Lucknow school and Delhi school, they had dominance on Urdu. They expect that, I mean, suppose if Sardar, like Rajendra Singh Bedi, he is from Rajasthan, or Krishna Chandra from Kashmir, or I am from Maharashtra, or Jilani Banu from somewhere. They want their idioms to be idiom of Ismat Chugtai. If that is not in your writing, you are not writing pure Urdu. So this sort of, there are a lot of things happen, and I had different subjects, I had different backgrounds, I had different kind of characters, and the cultural ethos. My cultural ethos is completely different from the North. So it was at initial stage, North, the critics from North, they were very confused. They were not capable to deal with this book, and I mean, when they don't feel that they are comfortable with a book, they simply reject it. But I was unrejectable to them. So at last they had to understood, okay, this is a different book. This is this language is little bit different. My idioms are different. I use Bombay slang. The way हम जिस तरह बम्बई में बात करते हैं, मेरे नॉवल में वो सब कुछ आ सकता है. मुझे लगता है कि जिस तरह बम्बई में एक आम आदमी बात करता है, अगर उसकी कहानियां हैं तो कहीं उसके डायलॉग्स में भी उसकी झलक आ सकती है, और नरेटिव में भी मैं उन चीज़ों को ला सकता हूँ. सो ये खेल मैंने थोड़ा खेला, लेकिन मुझे पता था इसका थोड़ा सा नॉर्थ के क्रिटिक्स नाराज होंगे, लेकिन आगे जाके फिर मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो चारों बड़े क्रिटिक्स हमारे हुए हैं लास्ट 100 years, शमशुर रहमान फारूकी, गोपीचंद नारंग, वारिस अलवी, शमीम हनफी, चारों का मुझे प्यार मिला है, मोहब्बत मिली है. So I took challenge, and I think it works in literature.
You like taking risks. You like
one
touching
one has
themes.
Literature is all about challenges.
Right. So also, Rahman bhai, now let's come to Zindi, which is his fifth novel. and it has just been published by Asia Publications in November
Yeah.
2021.
It's also published in December in Pakistan.
Okay,
Yeah.
December in Pakistan, and this has just gone into third edition.
Third edition,
right?
yeah.
So Zindi, again, Rahman bhai, for this you had to travel to European countries,
Yeah.
especially to see the impact of Nazism on
Yes.
these European countries.
Yeah.
And of course, in this novel, what you do is basically portray the impact of that ideology, in a very exclusivist and extremist ideology, on the subcontinent, and especially in the context of India and Pakistan.
Right.
It's also a dystopian novel. It's a novel which
It is in 2075.
Right. Tell us about something about this now.
Look, this was, a writer is sometimes trying to see what future is there for his country, his people, his language, his nation.
Right.
And I was a bit worried about what kind of political narrative is being developed here in our part of region, in Pakistan, Afghanistan, India,
Right.
China is there, so
Right.
ideological pockets.
Right.
So how much they can grow and what is their destination? So I try to identify what had happened in last century in Europe, how Europe was, suffered from hate politics and
Yeah.
supremacist politics, and what happened to people.
Right.
So 1910, 20, 30, this 30 years of European lives are very important to understand what happens to a country when different political ideologies, especially racist and supremacist ideologies take ground, how they take ground and how they convince people, the whole nation, that they have to kill a community to become superpower. So that was the story of Hitler and his Nazi ideology.
Yeah.
So I wanted to visit the past of Germany and to predict a sort of future for Pakistan and India and their relationship. So I applied to an institution and they read my synopsis and they welcomed it. So it was every year this grant is given to 8 books around the world. So it was one of the winner for the award. So I went to Germany, then Poland, then France, Czech Republic, and Austria.
Right.
And I have seen how these movements, they come into existence and what does happen, and then I compare in an imaginative way how religious organizations in both countries, what is their agenda, and how this agenda is very close to the agenda of Nazis. And how they are functioning, how they are trying to manipulate elections, how they are trying to control minds, and what can happen in the future.
Right.
So this novel is in 2075. This novel predicts end of the democracies in both countries and a devastating war, and that I think I don't expect that ever to happen. But just to counter and just to say that war is not good, or the religious narrative or supremacist narrative is not good for humanity, I try to create a different situation where if we don't listen, we are going to be doomed.
Both these novels, I think, they take a different approach in the sense that a lot of how you write, the craft of
but there are a lot of other things also.
Right.
There are, for example, a lot of LGBTQ issues are dealt with here with the characters, and then it goes with the Mahabharata and the Puranic stories and the stories of Sami literature. I mean, we call it Sami in Urdu. That is Semitic literatures, the Bible and the Torah and others.
Right.
How they all predict the future wars. And how in those, in 5,000 years history of mankind, how this sexuality has exactly played role, that we can also witness in the Mahabharata and in the stories of Bible. And so all those stories I have connect with to deal with our contemporary issues about the sexual orientations.
Right. With the translation of this novel, Rohzin, of course, you are going to reach new readers.
Yeah.
It has also been translated into Hindi, which is going to
and
come
German
out.
also.
Right, in German also. Yeah. So definitely, you are transcending those barriers of language and culture and reaching readers across the world in some sense. And this is what translation does. And as we have seen in the case of Gitanjali Shree's winning the International Booker Prize for her novel translated by Daisy Rockwell.
And I was lucky. I was lucky that I had a reading with Gitanjali Shree.
Oh, wonderful.
In Bhopal 2-3 years back before COVID, and I find her tremendously intelligent person who loves all the progressive the traditions of Hindi Urdu progressive literature. I witnessed it. We had a chat after a talk, and I'm really happy. She has opened a gateway for a lot of Indian writers from different Indian languages.
Right.
So I congratulate her also from this platform.
Right. No, and this is the time when a lot of this literature in Indian languages should reach readers who are
Of
not
course,
familiar
yeah.
with
Our
that.
literature in
Yeah.
our regional languages, be it Marathi, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, are extremely rich literature.
Right.
And I think we should present it to the international platform and readers.
Right.
And that could only happen through the translations.
Right, right. One last question,
Sure,
Rahman bhai,
sure.
then we conclude. Your literary influences, I mean, just flipping through these two books,
Yeah.
one can see that, it has been very eclectic in the sense that, you draw on, of course, European writers, you draw on Marquez,
Yeah.
you draw on, painters like Picasso, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's a wide range of influences that is very evident through all these, across these two novels. Tell us something about your literary influences and how sort of has, in any way, impacted your own sort of writing.
Well, yeah, first when I started writing, I was definitely influenced by Ismat Chugtai and Saadat Hasan Manto, Rajendra Singh Bedi, Krishan Chandra, Prem Chand. These were our icons and our heroes. So we learn whatever the art we can learn from them. And after, but suddenly what happened, due to the lot of modernist kind of reading, I was very pessimistic. And I was also trying to do a lot of experimental writings.
Right.
But then suddenly I come across reading Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And reading Marquez and his way of describing things suddenly struck me. And I really influenced by him. And later on I read Pamuk and I enjoyed him. I read Kundera also.
Right.
I was also influenced by Gustave Flaubert, whose novel Madame Bovary is one of the best novel in literature. Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, all these great writers.
Right.
Yes, I am influenced by them, but I am trying to create a way for me, to mixture. If you see that in Ek Mamna Mohabbat ki kahani, or even in Rohzin, though there's a Mumba Devi and a lot of mythological characters, but I have मैंने इसमें गांव का नाम रखा है माबाद मोर्फो.
Yeah.
So Mabad is post-modern.
Ji.
And Morpho, this I took from Kafka, Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis.
So after Metamorphosis and magical realism, what you can do at the level of technique, so I am trying to get something.
जी.
So मैं एक नया टेक्निक बिल्ड करूँ मेरी अपनी, जो मेरी अपनी आइडेंटिटी बन सके. It is really a challenge in literature.
Right.
To set a technique for yourself. So mythological realism,
जी.
जिसका मैंने इसमें एक चैप्टर दिया है, जिंदगी में एक पूरा चैप्टर दिया है mythological realism. So I'm trying to build mythological realism, जिसमें realism will not remain realism, but our mythologies, all stories from mythologies will take, play it in, but that will be magically. So उसका experiment मैंने जिंदगी में काफी करने की कोशिश की.
Right. Well, one wishes you, of course, a long journey as a writer. May you reach many more readers with translations. That was Rahman Abbas, winner of the Sahitya Academy Award. It was lovely talking to you, Rahman.
Of course,
Thank you so much.
pleasure to have this.
Thank you so much.